Hello everyone. Welcome to mentorspool. My name is Ankit, and as part of today's session, we'll try to understand how to set up IAS as a custom identity provider for any application which is running on top of BTP. Also, we'll see what are different use cases where IAS is used. And why I choose this topic is this is a part of SAP BTP administration. This is a part of our SAP BTP security, and this topic is a part of identity access governance as well. Okay, so let's start with today's topic without doing any delay. So we first have to understand what is identity provider. Okay, so, as the name suggests, identity provider means it will provide identities to different business applications it will be associated with. What actually it does? So, identity provider has two main capabilities. One, it stores identity data. Second, it provides authentication mechanism. Okay. So, when I say stores identity data, what type of data it stores? Okay. So let's say I am a user. Okay, I am trying to log in into application. Okay, so the details what would be associated with me, identity details like my user ID, my name, my address, or any other details related to a user. Okay, that is a identity data. Okay, which is stored in identity provider. Identity provider is nothing but a system or application that stores identity data. The identity could be associated with any end user or it could be associated with a system type of user. Okay. For example, we can say we already have a lot of identity provider available you must be aware of. If I take some examples, Azure Active Directory, Azure ADFS, Okta, you know. So these are some of the identity provider we already have in market. Okay, let's jump to the next topic. Why do we need identity provider? Okay, in early stage of application development, normally what were happening is any company, if they're having their four different application, so they were designing four different individual sign up options. Okay, for each application there will be four sign up options. If a user want to access app 1, he have to supply user ID and password for app 1. If you want to access app 2, then you have to provide separate user ID and password for app 2. Okay, similarly it goes for app 3 and app 4. It was becoming very difficult because slowly when you will be having, let's say, 10 system, 15 system, or 20 system your company, and if they have their own way of authentication authorization, then it's really difficult for a user to remember the user IDs and passwords, right? One more case, system 1 may use email ID as a user ID. System 3 may use any combination of first name last name, right? It was becoming very difficult for users to be able to log in into the application, and they have to remember a lot of password, a lot of user IDs. So having said that, this was a big challenge. The concept came in a picture where we can store all identity data in one system, and we can integrate this system with all 4, 5, or 10 or 15 applications which our business users or end users want to log in. Whenever a person will raise a login request to app 1 or will try to log in into app 1, it will redirect the request to identity provider and will ask, hey, identity provider, could you please check this user ID if you have an entry for this? Identity provider, as it stores all identity data, it will check and then it will give a success response to app 1 and will say yes, this is a valid user and can log in into your system. Okay, And according to the authorization, what the user will have after authentication, he would see the UI of that application. Similarly, it will happen for app 2, app 3, app 4, or app n. Okay, so it make the user's life very easy. They just need to remember one login ID, one password, and can log in into different applications, which is using this as an identity provider. Okay, so I hope why do we need identity provider is very clear here. Okay, so let's limit our discussion to SAP now. Previously, we were discussing as a general, concept of identity provider. Okay, so in case of SAP, or even we can come to the level of maybe SAP Cloud or BTP. Okay, so SAP provides two type of identity providers. Okay, one is default identity provider. Second is custom identity provider. Let's try understanding what these two terms are. Okay, let's say I have a company. Okay, and I want to use some SAP services. Okay, so what I'll have to do is I have to first go ahead and create account on sap.com. My details will be stored in SAP Identity Database. Okay, because I am the first person. There is no other way, right? I am the first person in a company who is looking to start, using SAP services. I as a first person have only one option, is I have to go and create account on sap.com. Okay, and let's say I purchase some of the BTP services. What they will do is they will create a link. They will ask me to log in using that link by user ID which I created on sap.com. So when I will try to log in any of the solutions which I have purchased, every time the authentication will happen with SAP ID service, which is their internal identity provider. So for any application which is SAP owned application, if you are procuring that application, then by default there is an identity provider is connected with your solution, which is called default identity provider. Okay, whenever you will try login into those application, always the authentication request will go to SAP ID service, and it is connected to your, it is already having the database where you created, stored all the information while you created your account on sap.com. Okay, and will authenticate and will let you access the resources whatever you want to. Okay, if we already have this SAP default identity provider, why then do we need custom identity provider, right? There are two to three reasons to it. First and foremost, very important reason is, let's say I have a company, there are 3 lakhs employees. Okay, and I am taking different cloud services from SAP. Is it good if I ask all 3 lakhs employees to go and create account on sap.com? Is it correct? No, it is not correct. All my employees, their user data, their address, their every single detail, whatever I take from them while I will hire them, I cannot allow anyone else to manage these users, right? Okay. The second reason why we should introduce a custom identity provider is default identity provider is managed by SAP. It will not allow you to do any configuration on default identity provider. Even you will not have any access to this. Okay, the authentication and everything is happening from back, and you don't have any access to this ID service, right? But let's say if you want to change some password policy for all your systems, let's say you want to implement multi-factor authentication, right? You want to use any other different features, different process what other identity providers provide. You should have end-to-end full control, and you can customize the identity provider's behavior, login request, how you want people to log in, what page should come. So you should be able to configure your identity provider the way you want, right? That's why, your custom identity provider is provided to you, and you'll be having full control on it. So what you will do is Even if you purchase your resources from SAP, but you will set up an identity provider, custom identity provider, where you will have all the user records who are going to access those solutions. Okay, so whenever they will try accessing those solutions, the request will go to your custom identity provider and they will get authenticated. Microsoft have given identity provider, Google is giving identity provider, your Okta is giving identity provider. So SAP also developed their own identity provider, which is called Identity Authentication Service. Now there is a new name which called Cloud Identity Services, which is nothing but this Identity Authentication Service. So Identity Authentication Service, a old name of Cloud Identity Services, which is available on top of BTP. And this Cloud Identity Services is not only having identity authentication, but also have Identity Provisioning Service, which was separate service previously. Okay, so we can limit our discussion again, maybe specific to IAS. So IAS, which is called Cloud Identity Services now, is a identity provider provided by SAP, which can be used by any customer who is using SAP solutions, and they have made this identity provider, you know, keeping in mind that it can 100% connect to most of SAP solutions. Also, it can connect to non-SAP solutions as well. But yes, at least all SAP solutions, SAP products will definitely support this. Okay, so I hope now you are very clear what is the default identity provider, what is a custom identity provider, and what SAP provides as a custom identity provider. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. As now we are discussing on SAP IAS, which is Cloud Identity Services. Okay, we wanted to have a look on what are different use cases IAS has. Okay, I said IAS has two things: identity store and authentication mechanism. Okay, so here let's understand there are two use cases what we can expect from IAS, SAP IAS. First, SAP IAS as a main identity provider. Second, SAP IAS as a proxy authentication service. Please try to understand it very very clearly. The words what I'm trying to use. IAS as a main identity provider. It means IAS has storage identity storage capability as well as identity authentication mechanism. Here IAS as a proxy authentication service, it means in this case IAS is not actually storing the identity data. Okay, so there is no data is stored in IAS. It works as a proxy for authentications. We'll see architectural diagram so that we can understand it better. So let's move to the first use case where IAS works as a main identity provider. Okay, so let's take example. You have a business application. It could be SAP Analytics Cloud, DataSphere, IAG, Business Application Studio, Digital Manufacturing Cloud running on top of BTP. Okay, so let's say a user want to access to this business application, and this business application using IAS as identity provider. And when IAS is working as a main identity provider, it has all the user record within it. It store all employees data from that company. Okay, whenever their request will come for a login to this application, the request will redirect to IAS. Hey IAS, could you please authenticate this is user ID has come. IAS will check in all identity data. It will confirm yes, this is the correct guy. I already have data for this. It is allowed to access you. Okay, and after authentication happens as per authorization, the user will be able to access the UI. Okay, this is one thing where IAS is storing identity as well as providing authentication service. So in this only there are one more extension we can do. What that is, here also IAS is having the identity data. Okay, and IAS is working as a authentication service, but how it is getting identity data is from any different system, which could be SuccessFactors, Field Glass, Learning Management, or any user import, or Azure Active Directory, which is just identity store but may not be having any authentication service. So in this case, what will happen is it imports data from these source system into this. Will have all the records. Okay, whenever there will be login request will come, it will just come here because it's, and the sync will happen periodically. Okay, every time this IAS will be updated with the data whatever will be generated here. Maybe there are new employee joined and success factor the records got updated, so there will be periodic sync to IAS, and this IAS will be updated with the latest identity records. Okay, and whenever there will be login request, it will process the request as we discussed in the last system. In this case, it is taking the user data from any source system. But in previous case, what is happening, maybe company has given access to HR. Whenever someone is joining as a new joiner in this company, please add his email ID, and he will get a request, and that guy will activate his account in IAS, and he will provide all the his specific details, will be able to save all data in identity provider. So that's how, or maybe directly a Excel file HR can import, maybe for every day whatever hirings happen. So this is using as a main identity provider here, as well as this is working as a main identity provider. It's just data it is getting from any different sources. The second scenario where IAS working as a proxy identity authentication service. When this scenario can come, let's say you already running a company, you already have a corporate identity provider like ADFS or Okta, okay, and now you want to join SAP, or maybe you're already working with some SAP solutions, but yes, your ADFS was handling all those on-premise SAP request, login request, but you have newly introduced SAP BTP or SAP Cloud. Okay, now we are very clear that SAP have designed IAS such as it is very easy to integrate IAS with those all solutions what we have on top of cloud. Okay, so what we can do here is we can integrate this IAS with this application, and again this IAS can be integrated with your corporate identity provider. In this case, what will happen is whenever the user will try to log in into this business application, okay, the request of authentication will be sent to IAS. As IAS doesn't has any records because it doesn't store any identity data, it is working as a proxy authentication service. It will again raise a request further to corporate identity provider, and now your corporate identity provider definitely be having all the user records with it, and the authentication will happen here, and the response will be sent to the IAS, and again IAS will send response to the business application. Yes, this user exists and authentication is successful. Please allow him to access resources as per the authorization he has. Okay, okay. In this example, you saw that IAS is just working as a proxy. It is just triggering the request what it received from business application to corporate identity provider. Okay, you will ask why we cannot integrate this corporate identity provider directly with the business application. You can integrate it, but it might be a bit difficult for you, right? Because IAS is designed for these SAP solutions, and it will be very quickly you can integrate, and then this IAS is definitely designed to get integrated with all corporate identity provider, and your job is going to be very easy. Okay. Second thing, what next extension we can understand in this, as we understood last use case, is we can again see maybe this corporate identity provider is again getting data from any different source systems. Okay, but again this periodic sync will definitely be happening. Okay, so this corporate identity may be getting the data from SuccessFactors, and when this could be, maybe the companies mostly focusing on SAP solutions. Okay, then what will happen is they may not be having other source systems, so they may be having SAP related source systems only, and then they're using a corporate identity provider already, and they are syncing the data from these systems to corporate identity provider, and then now again the same scenario how what we discussed previously. Okay, And one you would have noticed there is a IPS written in between. Okay, whenever I'm talking about this, there is a IPS written in between. This is again a cloud identity services, okay, which is called identity provisioning services. Okay, we are not going to discuss in detail in this session because this is not part of session. We have a different session altogether for IPS. But yes, just to help you what IPS is, there are two use cases for IPS. First let me tell you what IPS does. IPS does nothing but reads identity data from one system and writes into another system. Okay, this use case of IAS is called source and target system framework. IPS is also used as a proxy system. Okay, so I can take example where, okay, IAG, Identity Access Governance, is a risk and governance tool. Okay, it uses IPS to get integrated with any SAP cloud system. Okay, IAG can be integrated with any cloud system using IPS only. If I just except SuccessFactors. SuccessFactor is a cloud system within SAP which can directly be integrated with IAG, but IAG always uses IPS as a proxy system to get integrated with all SAP cloud solutions. Okay, to be able to take care of risk and governance of those target systems. Okay, I hope it is very clear. So there are two to three things we cover. I will just quickly revise. We understood what is identity provider. Identity provider is nothing but a complete identity provider is who can store identity data and can have a authentication mechanism with it. Second, why do we need identity provider? Third, SAP identity provider. So there are two different identity provider, and why we need custom identity provider. What is the default identity provider? I clearly explained you. Okay. Third is in case of SAP, IAS is identity provider. So we wanted to understand what are the different use cases IAS as identity provider has. And then we understood these diagrams in very detail. I hope you must be having very good clarity now on this. Okay. Now last thing is to be able to use as an identity provider, IAS must be integrated with, you know, those applications which want to use IAS service. And how these business application can be integrated? So I'm limiting my discussion to all the application which is running on top of BTP here. Okay, so any application, it could be IAG, SAP Analytics Cloud, Business Application Studio, or even BTP platform itself. If it want IAS to work as an identity provider for them, then we have to integrate them. Okay, and the first step for integration is going to happen with platform, BTP platform. Let's say you have subscribed IAG in any BTP sub account, and that IAG want to use IAS as identity provider, then IAS will first get integrated with that sub account, and then the particular business application, it could be IAG, Business Application Studio, or SAC, any of those application can use that connection which is created. So here you can see a diagram where we are trying to integrate IAS with IAG. Okay, in which first step is we are trying to integrate IAS with our BTP platform. So this is IAS, and we want to integrate this with our BTP sub account in which IAG is running. Okay, I will not be going ahead and doing hands-on at for these steps, but yes, I am going to help you how to integrate IAS with the BTP sub account so that any application which is running on in that sub account can utilize IAS as a identity provider. Okay, so let's switch to the system quickly, and we'll try looking at what are the things we have here and how we can do that. Okay, so just to help you, this is our cloud identity services. This is our cloud identity services. Okay, in which these part user and authorization, application and resources, these are identity provider. These are IAS related tiles, and this is IPS related tiles. Okay, Previously IAS and IPS were two different systems, but now they have been clubbed together, and now they are renamed as a cloud identity services. Okay, so let's see what are the steps we do need to integrate IAS with any BTP sub account. Okay, so what you do is, first step what you do is download SAML metadata file for the subscriber sub account. Okay, it means the application where this application is subscribed, that application definitely will be subscribed in sub account only, so you need to download a SAML metadata file from that sub account. So let's take example. Okay, this is our cloud IAG running in a sub account. Okay, so this is that our IAG is running in a sub account. So sub account with IAG subscribed. Okay, what it is asking first step is I have to download metadata from here. Where can I get a metadata? I have to come to security tab. I will come to trust configuration section, and I have to download metadata from here. So you can see SAML metadata. I will just click here and the SAML metadata got downloaded. Okay, this is the first step. What is the second step? Create an application in identity authentication and upload the SAP BTP metadata file there. Okay, so what I have to do, I have to go to identity authentication and you have to create an application. Okay, what this application is, this application I will just create a placeholder for the application which I am trying to integrate with IAS. Okay, anyway the integration first will happen with the sub account, but anyway at the end it will be utilized by the application which is running in that sub account, right? So that's why it says create an application in identity authentication and upload SAP BTP metadata file. Okay, so let me go to the IAS, and here I can see application resources. I will go to applications. In applications, I will go and create a system. Okay, add a application. So what is this? Because I want to integrate IAG, IAS, IDP. So IAS identity provider for IAG, let's say I'm trying to create. It needs home URL. Okay, it needs home URL. So I can copy that because IAG, I want to integrate this IAS for IAG. I will take a home URL of this IAG. What I'll go, I'll put it. Okay, what type of? So it says what type of application you are going to integrate with this IAS. Okay, so because I'm going to add IAG. So let's have a look if we have IAG in this. Okay. Okay, BTP solutions. No, 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 no. So we don't have IAG in this. Okay, we don't have IAG in this. So what we can do is we can just select other SAP cloud solutions. Okay, I will add here. There is no parent application to IAG, so I will not select any, and I will click on save. Okay, so we have IAG as IDP one application added. Now the second step, it says create an application, then upload metadata here. So we can come into SAML 2.0 configurations. What I have to do, I have to come to application, I have to add an application, and the application which I added, I have to select that, and then I have to come to SAML 2.0 configuration. Okay, as soon as I will click SAML 2.0 configuration, it give me option. I can fill all required metadata which I downloaded from BTP sub account. Okay, I can do it manually. I can definitely copy and paste these URLs, whatever needed in from this XML file. But SAP has provided us a very quick, way how we can, we can just click. Okay, and we can just directly upload this metadata. Okay, once I will upload this metadata, you will see all the details are automatically populated here. What these details are, these details are nothing but these some endpoint URLs where because why you are integrating this, because you want to transfer some identity data, right? So it will do some HTTP post request, some redirect request will happen, right? This job is for integration consultants, so they must be aware of these things very well. That's why they are not expecting us to fill in, understand each and everything what it is. But yes, it normally when the the communication happen between two systems. So we are using SAML 2.0 protocol for that, and there are some endpoints link has been created here and has been provided, okay, which will be used to get the data from one system to another system. Okay, as soon as we'll do, we can click on save. We saved this. Okay, next what we have to do is set up subject name identifier and assertion attributes. Okay, what is subject name identifier? Okay, so let's take example of this BTP count. Okay, let's come to users. Okay, when I come to users, you will let me search my and I will show you what is a difference. Okay, see, this is my login id ankit.ranjanmentorspool.com, ankit.ranjanmentorspool.com, and this p user has been created. See, it's a custom idp because this platform, this is already integrated. Actually, I have opened a different sub account. This sub account is already integrated with our ips. So whenever first time I will try logging into this cockpit using custom identity provider or as a IAS. See, the tenant ID A81ZYURBP. If I go to our IAS, see the tenant ID is same. So the same IAS is integrated with for this sub account to be used as a identity provider. So once it is set up, if I am trying to log in into this, what would be that unique attribute of me which will be checked in identity provider? So subject name identifier is nothing but I am saying whenever there is a login request comes for this IEG application, please use user ID as a main identity, user ID subject name identifier, a unique identity attribute. Go and check in the identity database if it is this user exists. Okay, I hope you understood what is the use of this. And the second is fallback attribute. Let's say due to any reason, this your user ID not working, then we need to select a fallback attribute, which we can select maybe email ID. So if there is any issue in any case, your user ID is not working, then email ID can be again a unique value, which will be used to match in the identity database. Okay, so we already have selected user ID and email ID. Let's save this. Okay, next thing we have to do, we have to set assertion attributes. Okay, so what these assertion attributes are? Okay, let's go and check. So as I already told you, this sub account is already integrated. This sub account is already integrated with IAS. So whenever first time I logged in, my subject name identifier used as a user ID. Okay, but once authentication will happen, and when I will able to log in into the system, there are some attributes I want to get stored here in that application. Some attributes. Okay, so those are assertion attribute which I want should be sent after the authentication will happen to the application. So that's what happened here. There are these values which is already available in identity provider user store, and these are the selected assertions attribute will be passed after the authentication will happen to the application, and a shadow user will be created here. Okay, so so just to understand quickly, so this IAG IAS identity provider, this is one application. This is IAG. Whenever a person will try to log in into IAG, okay, it will use IAS, and IAS has all the user identity data. Whatever I have selected as a part of subject name identifier, that will be the unique value which will be asked by the user to provide in the login page, and that value will get checked. That user value will get that attribute, a subject name identifier will checked in identity database, and these assertions attribute along with that subject name identifier will be passed to the target application, which is IAG. But here IAG is using BTP as a platform. That's why this coming in a BTP user. Okay, because I can see from here only I can assign IAG roles, right? CIG roles. That's why this IAG is running on top of this sub account, and any user will get created as on this platform only. So similarly, the shadow users got created with these assertions attributes, whatever I will select here. I hope it is very, very clear. Okay. Once this is done, I will click on a save. I have done all the required configuration what was required. Now the last step is I have to download the metadata from this IAS and have to upload in BTP Subaccount. How I can do is I can go here in application resources. I can go to tenant setting and I have to go to SAML configurations. Okay, SAML configurations. So this is a SAML configurations. After I uploaded metadata from BTP cockpit, I set up subject name identifier. I set up SSN attributes which I want to pass after the authentication will happen to the target application. So this metadata is generated now. What I have to do is I have to download this metadata. And next step is I have to go in BTP sub account. I have to go to trust configuration and I have to upload this metadata, whatever I downloaded. Okay. I can click on upload and I can select, I can open. So metadata is automatically got uploaded. If I click on show more, see these all fields are populated automatically, and I'll just give IAS I custom IDP description description this and see. Now my IAG which is subscribed in this sub account, okay, will be able to use IAS, this IAS as identity provider. Okay, so let's go and try launching the IAG. Okay, I have kept IAG link here. Whenever when I click it, see it says two options now: default identity provider and custom identity provider. Previously, when I was not, when I had not did this configuration, if I go and open in incognito window, okay, so now anyway it will show because it's already done, but I will show you what screen will come. So if I would not have integrated this IAS, it automatically takes me to this screen whenever I will hit that URL as a this SAP ID service. Okay, and this is using the SAP database default identity provider which I explained where when first time I create account on sap.com. Okay, as soon as I was able to integrate, right, a custom identity provider, it gives me two options. Hey, what you would like to use? Now I can click here. See, see it went to that IAS. Now it will ask me the details. So I have to give that subject name identifier which was selected because my user will use whatever I will tell, right? So, but in backend, I am an administrator. I have selected subject name identifier as a email. So I will my all business users will use email here and will provide password. And as soon as they will provide user ID and password, they would be able to log in. Okay. Okay. So see, authentication happened, but it is there is no authorization assigned. That's why its authentication happened, and I am in IG screen, but there is no authorization has been assigned to me. That's why I'm not able to access any tiles. Okay, let's go ahead and check if it the same thing happening with our custom default identity provider, because I had explicitly assigned roles to default identity provider. See, I have all the access. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand it properly how these all the things happen. Okay, so what are the things we covered today? We understood what is identity provider. Okay, we understood why do we need identity provider. We understood what is the difference between default identity provider and custom identity provider. We also understood as IAS different use cases of IAS. Okay, and all these things quickly we understood, and then finally we tried integrating our IAS with IAG. Okay, there are further steps again is there where if you want to sync, because IAG scenario is a bit different, because IAG is risk and governance tool. So it would need all identity data from IAS so that it should be able to manage the risk and governance of any target system which is integrated with IAG. That's why there are further steps we have to do in this, which normally we cover in part of our detailed training. Okay, so the configuration what we did is just we can limit any application which is running on top of BTP. If you want to use IAS as identity provider for them, this is just you have to do. That's it. But IAG is a different application. It, as per its own requirement, we do further configuration step by step in our real sessions. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you have been able to understood what I'm trying to explain. But yes, okay, so thank you so much. Please contact us for any training on BTP security, BTP administration, identity access governance, BTP development with CAPM, BTP development with RAP, which is RESTful ABAP programming, BTP integration, BTP robotics process automation, BTP AI. Thank you so much for patiently listening me and going through the videos.